Ayo, it is the morning after Nolecast. We've got Bud here via audio feed only, and hey, I think maybe this is what we do, Bud. We do a joint instant after a rivalry victory. However, we may have to piece it together, and appreciate you joining us this morning in whatever capacity you can. But Florida State takes down the Gators, a game that went back and forth until until it didn't, and then it was one team and one team only. So Bud was fortunate enough to be able to be there. Look forward to drawing upon your insights that you were able to take in from Ben Hill Griffin. And this is only the second game I've missed this year, so that was a toughie for me. But I was running a fever earlier in the weekend and just decided I'd watch this one from home. So great time to be a Seminole, and look forward to doing this one. This will be a rather shorter one, but a fun one is my prediction.
Man, that was a lot of fun. I whew. Shout out to the band, first of all. Like I heard on TV it was extremely loud. ESPN put a bunch of mics like right in front of FSU's band, and they were playing a lot. And it was I heard it just dominated the broadcast. Just a gutty win, man. Like we said, no double plays, right? Explosives and punt. You're probably not going to go on drives like sustained drives against a team that blitzes as much as Florida does, you know? And I think you had what, like one
You
truly
had one,
sustained
yeah.
drive?
You had one when you needed it desperately. But yeah,
I mean, it was a team effort that was largely led by the defense. Like we go back to the key factors of the game. Is their left tackle going to play? I mean, I thought that was a key factor. And when I saw him in a sling, I was like, I feel good about this matchup because Damian George, I didn't like him coming out as a transfer. I didn't agree with his transfer rating. Florida took him. I was like, man, that kid really got cooked when he played for Alabama. He can't handle good rushers. And Florida fans on Twitter had told me, hey, he's really not that like he's not a problem, blah blah blah. But like Barber's also not good, and the backups, better. I'm like, okay, let's see, because that means you're putting your backup tackle on Peyton on the other side. You're gonna have Damian George solo Jared Verse. I don't I don't think that works out. Their quarterback should get hazard pay for that game, man. That was a big boy pants game from Jared Verse, and he just absolutely sunned him.
it was big. I mean, Jared versus final possessions there were incredible. Made himself a lot of money, but even from the first possession, it was pretty clear that they couldn't block Florida State. I can't remember if this is the first possession or the second possession, but Josh Farmer lines up in the neutral zone on one play. He is one of three players that immediately sheds his block. So I knew that your defensive line was going to be able to do that, and honestly, it was in my mind, it was avoid the double play. Or honest, if you can just avoid the triple play, if you can avoid Tate getting confused in a pick six, I think you're going to win this game. And that was kind of where I was after the first quarter. I don't know. I mean, look, when you're down 12-0 and you've given up a safety that you would have liked to have not, then everybody can come to their own conclusions to what they thought was going to happen. But you always had to match up along the line of scrimmage, and whether it be ejections or whatever else. And I texted this to you during the game. Like, I feel like Florida State's the better team, and Florida State's definitely winning the war of attrition as far as in-game loss of players, whether it be for injury or whatever wise. And it just kept being the case, kept being the case. Everybody's banged up when you get to this point in the season, but Florida carrying a bunch of knocks or picked up new knocks as the game went on. That tackle that Jerry Jones makes is a hell of a football play, and two, I believe is the end of the night for that for Etienne as well. Renardo Green, kid who you weren't sure was even going to play, making some very physical plays as well. It was just a tough physical football team that went in and did what was necessary to get a win, and what is not necessarily like the apex of the swamp and what that atmosphere is, but still a night game at Florida, playing against Florida State, and that's a very good atmosphere. And Florida State went in and drained the swamp and left carrying a bunch of gator heads that I have a pretty good feeling as to where those are harvested from. So that was great to see as well. So
Yeah, they really did. I mean, look at Florida's opening kind of 2 drives were pretty solid drives. The one obviously that ends in a touchdown is I was watching Norvell, and as soon as the whistle blew, man, he sprinted out there to give that ref a piece of his mind. I was like, man, I don't think he was ever actually going to swing on him, but like I have not seen him heated like that. I was like,
Mhm.
I think he's kind of close. Like if the ref like tries to punk him and lean in a little bit to get bumped, like you see an NBA ref do once in a while. Like,
Mhm.
and Mike is so close to this guy. Uh, yeah, I think what is truly something to appreciate here is the game script and the way that the game unfolded. Like I certainly could see a game in which FSU got up, Florida could not, uh, stick with their run game, have to pass a lot, and you end up winning by 2 scores. If you had told me, hey, you're down 12 nothing and you come back to win by 2 scores, I would be a little more kind of slow to believe that was how it would go, right? I mean, personally, yeah, that was
Well, and
that
that
was
is
pretty
where I
wild.
will give Tate a ton of credit. I mean, you got the drive that you had to have the end the second half to be able to go into now you damn near messed around and let them score again with them breaking that one run there, but you got
So
the
yeah,
drive that you needed to have,
can,
and
can we
at
talk
that
about
point,
that?
yeah, please, absolutely. I'll also point out that Mike got to say another little "I love you" note to that official as the game ended, as he was rubbing off the
Mm,
field, which if you know Mike, he probably just said something like, "I hope you have a great night" or something like that. But it would probably
You think that's what he said?
no, I legitimately think that's probably what he said. And like that is a Mike
Yeah.
thing to do, is to just look at you and scream, "I hope you have a great night," and then make your way on about. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's audio of it somewhere. So
So I mean, I think you're calling those timeouts because you're not calling those timeouts to get the ball back on offense. I think you're calling those timeouts because of how you have felt about your own offense through about 28 minutes of that game or
hmm
29 minutes of that game, right? Like you're calling those timeouts because you feel you need a punt block, right? I mean, like if you
mm,
look at it at that point, like Rodemaker in the pocket was not looking good through most of the first half. They were going to a lot of like sprint out, rollout type stuff. I mean, you had what 3 or 4 delay of games in the first half. Getting the calls in, you could tell they were struggling to figure out like, okay, he's rat trapping a little bit. He's seeing
mm,
some like he's having some problems here.
yeah,
The communication was an issue, and it's a backup quarterback and making his first ever start in the swamp. Like that's not easy, right? That place was pretty loud. I think it was hard for them to hear. They had to go with with the silent count, and I mean, yeah, like that almost did backfire on them. I think the decision to call the timeouts, given what was there, 28 seconds left, I think? It wasn't much.
hmm
When did they call that timeout? I think that was great insight into how Mike Norvell felt about his offense at the time.
hmm yeah, yeah,
23 seconds left, they called the timeout.
yeah. I was trying to pull that up here now. Yeah,
I mean,
interesting.
in no world can you go on a drive with that, right? Like, because they're going to punt. If they get the punt off, you're getting the ball at like somewhere between the 30 and the 0, and like you're not going to go on a drive with 15 seconds probably.
hmm
Like, you do that to try to block a punt or to try and see if there's a wet field, maybe they can throw a snap over the guy's head or something. Um, that was that was interesting. I thought early on the offense was really trying to work some of the split zone stuff that they were, you know, Florida had a lot of trouble defending that at times this year, right? Some of the zone stuff. And to their credit, Florida did a nice job defending that early. And then I think they were overplaying some of that later. You caught him being a little bit undisciplined, and Benson, to his credit, gave a nice comment about this after the game. Did you watch the what Benson did with Holly Anderson or Holly Rowe,
I
the sideline
with him
reporter?
and Verse, I couldn't really hear what they were saying all that well. Yeah.
He she asked him about the patience. He's like, yeah, they told us it was going to be a lot of two, 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 and then when you get an opening, eventually it'll spit, and
Hmm.
it did, which is I think like, hey, if you've watched this team for 13 or 12 games this year, yes, but also given Florida's style of defense, I think that is what we saw in large part. But a couple of those counters started hitting. They ran a couple duos nicely there in the second half. Um, Big game by Johnny Wilson. Like Florida was focused on Keon.
Yeah. Yeah. Johnny's just been massive ever since he came back from, whatever, if that was a head thing or what. But you could tell that Tate felt comfortable throwing him the ball, got him the ball a lot. Johnny made damn near every catch. And he just, there were it was never 2013, but there were just shades of of Kelvin having defenders bounce off him for an extra, 6 or 8 yards or whatever with Johnny throughout much of the night. And a lot of credit to that kid, man. He came in with a lot of, I don't want to say red flags, but questions, and red flags is more like character and stuff. And that's not what I'm referring to at all. It just guy struggled to catch the ball, struggled to turn into a an above average route runner. He put in the absolute work. Um, Johnny's a unique individual, and I'm very, very proud of the night he had and the end of the season that he's had because he's turned into a hell of a reliable wide receiver and is got to be about the best thing that you can hope to see out there if you're a backup quarterback who's making his first start in an environment like that. Dylan Rustin says, and I absolutely agree with this. The play that Ja'Kai Douglas makes on, I believe that's a fourth down, just absolutely massive. And Ja'Kai, again, not a guy that's going to get thrown to 10 times a game or something like that, but is there when you need him. And that was one of the bigger plays of the night as well. So, um, yeah, Keon cracks me up. He's always going to be a massive part of the offense, but uh, credit to Johnny's not a secondary receiver, but credit to Ja'Kai and some of the work some of the other guys did. Tight end play was a little frustrating to start the game. That's just kind of where you've been at different points, but looked like that got much better as the game went on. They had a plan to try to get Bell incorporated into the offense as frequently as possible, and he had a solid night as well.
Eventually, so some of these deep shots they took where you end up drawing PIs, it was like, okay, if they may not be crazy open, but you need to throw it down there because Florida's DBs look honestly pretty poorly coached. And they just sometimes they were in phase and they just panicked and just grabbed,
Hmm.
right? Like they weren't always burnt on those pass interference calls. Sometimes it was just, oh shoot, we're not doing so great here. Wait, actually we are, but we don't realize it. So let's just
Hmm.
grab and it was just all right, 15. That's fine. But I thought the PI calls were important. Florida was fairly grabby on the night. I think both sides were. The refs on the outside, for the most part, early on let you play, and then it was a weirdly officiated game. I'll certainly say that it
It
was.
was one they got right, and look, if you look at what Florida State's defense was doing, I think they would have been okay. But I'm glad they didn't have to punt the ball back to him with 4.5 minutes left. I mean, I realize you want to try to take a kill shot on a quarterback when you get a chance to, but Tate's gives himself up 4 or 5 yards in front of the first down marker. That is just kind of indicative of where Florida State's or excuse me, where University of Florida's defense has been this year. They go for a shot, they ring the kid pretty hard. Um, but the game was I don't want to say the game was over there, but the win percentage thing is somewhere around here. I'd love to know what it did after Florida State retains possession there on a series of events that certainly looks like they weren't going to pick that first down up otherwise. So um
Yeah,
I say this like it kind of is. I'm kind of being serious, but like I'm not sure Florida's defense has ever been the same since they threw that shoe against LSU, man. I mean, I know that's kind of something like the sideline fan says or whatever, but that just seems to be a moment that stuck with the program for whatever reason. And ringing Tate Rodemaker was somewhat of a metaphorical comparison to that as well, at least in my simple mind. So
Yeah, that was God. I am worried a little bit about their overall level of physical fitness if they don't, since they're not making a bowl. Like, there's gonna be a lot of sad eating going on, unfortunately. I think potentially.
ooh, boy, that big boy at 430 or whatever or something, but then, I mean, that kid who's 369 or 365 or whatever he is
He needs to
something
go ahead
else
and
as well.
take it on to the league.
Yeah, he
I
don't need to see our guys trying to block him again. That was tough. Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah, you had to rotate the offensive line again, a good bit, right? I mean, Mo Smith is I don't know if the broadcast showed this, but after the one play, like, he needs 2 guys to help him up, and he's
mhm.
bending over in pain. You know, Washington's out there limping around. I mean, you're kinda walking wounded up front, and
Yeah.
Atkins is just, trying to find a way.
Think you might have found something with Meach at left guard. In game is not the time to be evaluating a offensive line play, but it did look like you got some nice plays out of that. And if you're either going to run Keandre at right guard or whoever else, it seemed like a decent match there. So interesting to see if a more formal rewatch bears that out.
Yeah, that was, I think you are correct in there. Obviously, Roddick has struggled at times this year, trying to still work through some things. Yeah, tight end blocking, I think, probably cost you 2 or 3 explosive run opportunities, or certainly put you behind the chains a couple times. But um, did you think the fake punt was a delayed game?
I mean, look, if they have the audio timed perfectly, it wasn't. But they don't have the audio timed perfectly on a lot of those
Yeah.
things. So I don't know. To me, it looked like the ball had been snapped. It looked like the ball is almost out of the center's hands by the time the whistle blow on the one replay they went with there. But um, it was 50-50. So uh,
I want to
I
give a shout out. Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say I'm
I think
also
my internet's a little like delayed at times on this. I apologize.
no, hotel internet, never, never. Please do give your shout out, sir. We need to shout out all our awesome sponsors as well as we're, 18 minutes into a podcast and I haven't done that, so that's on me.
All right, shout them out because I'm gonna give this like probably 20 seconds. So you drop the shout outs for the sponsors. And hopefully this thing resets for a second.
Okay, brilliant. Loved the group chat with Shannon and Chad last night. 844 FSU loan. Always the number one place for Seminoles to address their home mortgage needs. 844 FSU loan. I don't know if you saw him down there. I know Matt Lewis was in Gainesville as well. Congruityhr.com is the website. Congruity is the provider of choice for ourselves and for many other Seminole affiliated businesses when it comes to issues like payroll, HR, etc. Give them a look. They've been fantastic for every business that I have been a part of that has chosen to pair with them. And Matt Lewis is brilliant. Congruityhr.com and our Matt Thompson and the team at For the Table Restaurant Groups. There's no better option, whether it be away games, home, Madison Social, Township, Charlie Park, and believe they just have a opening that is next week that we'll talk about as well. So uh, great stuff from the For the Table Restaurant Group people as always.
So I was sitting next to Mark and a friend of ours, and I don't know. There's various levels of panic going on, and I'm like, man, I think FSU's got Florida's protections picked. And I'm not saying like sign stealing, but I'm fairly sure FSU has some kind of tell on what kind of protections Florida's calling here, either formationally or something. Because after about like the first I don't know, quarter, maybe quarter and a half of the game, almost every stunt and blitz FSU called got home or like severely affected the play. And I'm just talking about like free runner after
Mhm.
free runner after free runner uh, at the quarterback. Like you started to hit that kid Brown, who I thought played admirably. Uh, you started to hit him a lot, and you really started to speed him up. And it was really basically, can you get Florida into like third and medium, third and long? Because then at that point, they really are cooked. Like they made what one good conversion on third and long in the final 45 minutes of the game, I think. And we know it didn't happen in the fourth quarter because in the fourth quarter, Florida had negative yards. That was there was something poetic about FSU's band playing over the the Tom Petty, won't back down,
Mhm.
won't get turned around. Well, actually, they did get turned around. Um, it, yeah, man. Um, they that was good defensive coaching in game. I thought. Like, look, obviously Florida's a mess offensively. At least they had an initial game plan. It's not shocking that UF doesn't have a whole lot of like backup plans with a backup troop like redshirt freshman quarterback and some offensive line problems that they already have. FSU out adjusted Billy Napier though. Like we did see better coaching on FSU's side than Florida's side,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
They had some, they had some nice looks in the first half. I think they were causing some confusion with some of the linebacker reads there. But you're right. The blitzes more and more did start to get home. And when they didn't, guys that were wearing number 55 or 5 got home. I mean, Braden Fisk, have yourself a game, man. That was a great evening for him. Just the player that we've seen practicing all year, had himself a game to remember. Jared Verse has the game that all the fan base who looks purely at the stat line would want him to have. And Pat Payton made the most of a fortunate matchup and is just so damn disruptive, man. I mean, I know he's what, third in the conference as far as pass deflections or something like that. He's just a disruptor, and the whole defensive line, Farmer, Fabo, my man Malcolm Ray had a hell of a night. Just in great stuff by the defensive line in general, and I do think that was aided by um, when you're an offensive lineman and you have the back of your head that like you can't just focus on what you think is your immediate responsibility. You've got to look to see if there's somebody else there or a secondary responsibility. I think it becomes all the more of a challenging job to just block the guy that's in front of you. So I do think that Florida State had the better players and the better talent up front, but I do think that some of those blitzes getting home in the second quarter kind of further helped to loosen up what they were doing up front defensively.
Completely agree on that. Yeah, I something else that I think we need to address because we said it in the pregame was the tackling of the defensive backs. Right, we knew that Florida would try to get their looks to get their backs on your DBs. Now, look, that's not unique to UF. Everybody does that, right? On the play FSU score, like generally, there's either a corner or a safety who's not blocked, and you tell the back, hey, you, you're on scholarship at Florida State, right? But we expect you to make a defensive back miss. And I thought, for the most part, Florida State's defensive backs tackled fairly well. Not amazing, but we have seen this group struggle with tackling this year. As you mentioned, Bernardo gutting it out. I mean, Bernardo making the play on that screen is one of the plays of the football game.
Hmm.
Not only does he keep his leverage with the blockers, he ends up slipping the blocker, keeps contained, and then body slams the guy. Um, I mean, that's a hell of a play right there, honestly. So, um, getting those guys to tackle at an adequate level is a really important part of this defense. You're exactly right as far as the amount of attention Verse draws. By the way, I mean there's sort of a whole element. going on defense just as there is on offense. You really can't double Johnny that much, and Johnny is largely going to win against single coverage, especially if it's against your number 2 corner. Like, you can put the number 1 on Johnny and play 2 bracket on Keon, but it's sort of the same thing with Verse, right? You're gonna have to probably devote some extra resources to stop Jared Verse. Many teams have. That's in large part why his numbers are down a little bit this year. The impact, I think, less so, but the numbers certainly are down. He's got a lot more attention. Well, that means you're gonna have to put Solo on Peyton, right? Or when you run some of these stunts, I mean, they were crushing Florida in the third quarter with this little, like, Fisk Verse stunt, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because George would chase Verse inside so hard, and Fisk would come free, and then you wrap him up, and then Bethune comes and smacks him. It was a really nice defensive effort for the Noles. The first 2 drives, I get it. You're probably not gonna get a shutout. 3.9 yards of play was key there. And you made better adjustments. You're a better coach team than Florida is. And now they're 5-7. They have an absolute death march of a schedule next year. I don't know if Billy Napier will be fired in October or November, but I mean, it's hard to see them doing better than 7-5.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm willing to entertain 7-5 if they have a monster year in the portal. I mean, maybe 8-4 if everybody else around them falls apart, but uh, it's them's the breaks, man.
Them some breaks, most definitely. No, officially Verse with 2.5 sacks, Peyton with 2, Fisk with 1. Farmer gets the other half sack that was shared with Verse there. Just a dominant night for the line of scrimmage, and great to see that group play the way that they did. Fabian, I think, had 2 tackles for losses. Just check, just 1 tackle for loss there, but yeah, great evening.
Fabian ate some double teams well. I will say that. Like,
Yeah.
he has a role, and it was to sit in there and make sure a run goes for 1 or 2 and not 5. I thought he played well against the run. Did you see PFF is giving Dent credit for this is the highest pass rush grade I have ever seen. Pass rush grade 99.3.
99 That's great.
I don't
That's
know
great.
how do they get to the 0.3? Like, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
they.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I mean, the Dent play, we don't even really need to talk about it. It's absurd. It's preposterous. Yeah. We'll save conversation for that at a later date. Or maybe we'll just
I
try
do
to
think that
block it out that's what the sport has turned into. I don't know.
I do think Mike and Tony need to watch what Hennigan is doing at Memphis, and maybe consider teaching this like quarterback, like, safe dive thing that Memphis is doing. I've seen a couple other teams start to do this because, like, are you going to get the flag if you slide and get whacked? You're going to get the flag, but the flag doesn't really protect your brain, right? Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, it's that was a kill shot, but it's third down. Like, they're gonna hit you there because they're going at you like full speed, right? It's hard to pull up there because they're
Right.
already kind of in their tackling motion, like they're within a step, um, ish. It it's not like you're giving yourself up and they're 3 steps away from hitting you and then they come and smoke you. I don't know if you've watched what Hennigan does at Memphis. I think it's interesting.
Okay. I haven't. I'll go watch that. Interesting.
I hate it for Tate to get smoked like that. What else do I have here? Punting was generally okay.
Had the one
I think.
punt where the snap was a little wild and you got an
Yeah.
18-yard punt out of it or something like that. Wouldn't put too much of that on Mastro. But no, I mean, Florida's punter had a couple in his back pocket. Impressive. He hit a couple boomers. Good for him. Good for him.
12-0, man.
Finally, when Keon knew he had that leg, he ended up out kicking his coverage a bit. Great return there. 12-0, dog.
Punted his ass off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, Florida's kid was nuts.
He's played
I'll
a
be
couple
honest
games
with
in a
you, 3
row.
or 4 years ago, I wasn't sure this program had a whole lot of 12 and O's in its future, or if it had the, capacity to do it in general. So, remarkable year. Great to see these kids get what they deserve as far as how much work they put in, how consistently they go about their approach, and incredible team, incredible team. So,
Um, what's where can they donate to the Battle's End?
yeah, battlesend.com is the website. You can go donate there. We've got a couple things on social media as far as one-time gifts. You can do your Christmas shopping there. We've got, as you can imagine, Bud, it was a good night for Trey Benson memorabilia. But there's all sorts of stuff as far as various defenders and your offensive leaders, as far as Johnny, Keon, Jordan, Trey. TheBattlesEnd.com has certainly played some part of being 12-0, and whatever part of that is, I can assure you that we're very proud of it and would love to continue to having a positive impact on the program. So thank you, Bud. Thank you very much. There.
Absolutely, man. All right, so next week, Charlotte, Louisville. We'll have a preview. Um, Louisville did lose to Kentucky this weekend. It looked awfully similar to their Pitt game.
Hmm.
Give up a kickoff return, -3 in turnovers. They held Kentucky to 200 yards and lost. It's hard to give up 38 points if you're only giving up 200 something yards, but they managed to do it. Uh, that'll be another war for sure. Um, you're gonna have a chance to prove that you can look a little better than you did yesterday. Right? I think the saving grace here is that Alabama looked pretty poor against an Auburn team that I think is a little bit worse than UF is, although maybe not with the backup quarterback. And obviously Washington just hasn't looked right for about a month. So
I've
uh,
been watching college football for a long time, and I lived through the 2013 Auburn season of the tipped hail, fluke win against Georgia and kick six and stuff. Dog, that Iron Bowl was the craziest thing I've ever seen, bud. I mean, that was the between you have I know you were like making your way into the stadium. You've probably seen replays now, but you have
oh, we had it on.
oh, did you?
Florida
Okay.
Stadium. Florida
Okay.
Stadium has Wi-Fi, and
Okay.
my seat actually was directly over the Wi-Fi transmitter, so we we,
Oh,
we
that's
had the
nice.
game on.
Okay. Okay.
Which maybe
Well,
I don't know. I've already had all the kids I want to have, but if
I was gonna say you might
I
have
hope it
just
didn't cook me. Yeah.
taken care of yourself there. Yeah, you got a little internal preheat, but no, I mean the mishandling of the snap, the going over the line. I didn't watch all of that game every play, but it seemed like every third play that I saw, Milrow was running over, past the line of scrimmage, and then trying to throw a ball, and then to score on what was essentially what, 4th and 33 or 4th and goal from the 31 or 33 or whatever it was. It's just bonkers, and then they almost get a safety, and then they get a pick six to end the game. That was just insane an ending that I've ever seen to a game. So that was wild. That was wild.
Dude, that was wild. Uh, I I don't know what to say. I think
Yeah.
Georgia takes care of them next week,
Yeah.
honestly. But you know, we shall see, man.
We
12 and
shall
0.
see. What we know is that
I
we're 12-0 and just beat the damn Gators, and what a year it's been. So awesome.
Yes, indeed. All right, man. I will see you probably, I don't know, tomorrow nightish maybe, or
Yeah,
maybe
just
Tuesday.
give
We'll
Maggie
do
my
it.
best, and I appreciate you enjoying us or joining us via audio. So much appreciated, brother.
Yes, sir,
Talk to you
man.
soon.
I'll see you guys.